Welcome once again to Be Edified Daily. Today, we're diving into an intriguing question. If Satan's mission is to steal, kill, and destroy, why was he unable to touch a man named Job? The answer to this question takes us deep into the spiritual realm and offers us insight into God's divine protection. The Bible tells us in John 10 verse 10, "The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life, and have it to the full." Satan, described here as the thief, has a clear purpose: to wreak havoc and bring destruction into the lives of God's people. Yet, when it comes to Job, we see a unique scenario unfold. Despite Satan's relentless nature, Job seemed untouchable. Why was that? To understand this mystery, we must first recognize who Job was and the kind of life he led. Job was not an ordinary man. He was described as blameless and upright, a man who feared God and shunned evil, Job 1 verse 1. His character and conduct were so impeccable that God himself boasted about Job in the heavenly courts. Imagine this scene. God is in his throne room, surrounded by his angels, and Satan, the accuser, comes among them. The Lord, confident in his servant, challenges Satan by pointing out Job's righteousness. In Job 1 verse 8, God says, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him. He is blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil." Here we see that God himself brings Job into the conversation, highlighting his faithfulness and righteousness. This tells us something crucial. Job's life was a testimony, not only on earth but also in the spiritual realms. His uprightness and fear of God made him a subject of divine boasting. But why couldn't Satan touch Job initially? The Bible suggests that there was a hedge of protection around Job. In Job 1 verse 10, Satan replies to God, "Have you not put a hedge around him and his household and everything he has?" This hedge was a divine barrier, a protective wall that kept Job safe from Satan's destructive schemes. The key here is the nature of the protection around Job. It wasn't merely because Job was a good man or because he was wealthy and blessed. It was because of his deep, unwavering faith in God and his consistent commitment to living a righteous life. Job lived in such a way that he aligned himself with God's will, creating a spiritual protection that Satan himself acknowledged. Job's life poses a powerful mystery and a lesson for all believers. Why was Satan powerless against him? What was it about Job's faith and relationship with God that made him an exception to Satan's destructive plans? This chapter invites us to explore the answers to these questions, setting the stage for a deeper understanding of spiritual warfare and divine protection. Job is introduced to us in the Bible as a man of remarkable character and virtue. He lived in the land of Uz, which is believed to be somewhere in the east. Job was not just any man. He was described as blameless and upright, Job 1 verse 1. This description is significant because it highlights the core of Job's character. He was a man who lived with integrity and honesty. Being blameless doesn't mean Job was sinless, but it does mean he had a sincere and wholehearted commitment to God. To be upright means that Job was known for doing what was right and fair. He was respected in his community, not just for his wealth and status, but for his moral and ethical standing. Job was also described as a man who feared God and shunned evil, Job 1 verse 1. This fear of God wasn't about being afraid in a negative sense. It was about reverence and awe for the Almighty. Job understood the importance of living a life that was pleasing to God. He made it his daily mission to avoid evil and live righteously, which is why he shunned evil. This was a conscious decision to turn away from anything that could lead him away from his relationship with God. Job's reputation wasn't just about his character. It extended to his blessings and his family. He was one of the wealthiest men in the East, possessing vast herds of livestock and numerous servants. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters, and his household was known for its size and wealth. However, Job did not let his riches or his status define him. Instead, he used his blessings to honor God and help others. In Job 1 verse 5, we see a glimpse of Job's devotion to God and his role as a spiritual leader in his family. After his sons and daughters had finished their feasts, Job would rise early in the morning to offer burnt offerings for each of them. He would say, "It may be that my children have sinned and cursed God in their hearts." This tells us that Job was deeply concerned about the spiritual well-being of his family. He took on the role of a priest in his home, interceding on behalf of his children and seeking to ensure that they remained in right standing with God. Job's piety and dedication were so profound that God himself took notice. Job was a man who lived out his faith in every aspect of his life. His wealth, his family, and his reputation were all testimonies of a life that was fully committed to God. He was a man who walked the talk. His actions were consistent with his beliefs. But Job's character and righteousness went beyond his family and personal wealth. Job was known for his generosity and compassion. In Job 29, he recounts how he was a father to the needy, a champion for the widows, and a guide to the blind. Job didn't just care for his own, he cared deeply for the well-being of others. He used his influence and resources to bring justice and mercy to those in need. This selflessness is a critical aspect of Job's life. It shows us that Job understood the heart of God. He knew that true righteousness involved not just personal piety, but also a commitment to helping and uplifting others. His actions were a reflection of God's love and justice in the world. So, who was Job? He was a man of integrity, a devoted father, a wealthy yet humble servant, and a compassionate friend to the needy. He was a man who lived his life in complete surrender to God, which made him stand out in a world that was often dark and corrupt. His unwavering commitment to righteousness and his deep fear of God made him a spiritual giant. As we reflect on Job's life, let's ask ourselves, are we living with the same level of integrity and devotion? Are we, like Job, making an intentional effort to live a life that honors God and shuns evil? Job's story challenges us to examine our own lives and strive for the kind of faithfulness and righteousness that brings honor to God. The Bible gives us a profound clue in Job 29 verse 4, where Job reflects on his past. As I was in the days of my youth, when the secret of God was upon my tabernacle. This verse hints at a mystery, a divine secret that was upon Job's life from his youth. But what is this secret, and how did it manifest in Job's life? To uncover this, we must first understand what Job meant by the secret of God. In Hebrew, the word used here for secret refers to intimate counsel or a close, confidential relationship. This suggests that Job had a special, intimate relationship with God, marked by a deep understanding and connection that went beyond mere knowledge or ritualistic worship. Job knew God personally, and he walked closely with him. Job's relationship with God was the foundation of his divine protection. It wasn't just about being a good man or performing righteous deeds. Job had an intimate fellowship with God, where he not only spoke to God but also listened to him, sought his wisdom, and lived according to his divine guidance. This close relationship created a spiritual hedge around Job that Satan could not penetrate. Furthermore, Job's life was marked by a consistent pursuit of righteousness and a deep fear of God. He was meticulous about his spiritual life, always seeking to please God and avoid any form of evil. This commitment to righteousness is what attracted God's favor and protection. Job lived in such a way that God's presence and favor were always with him. In Job 1 verse 10, even Satan acknowledged this divine protection. When God pointed out Job's faithfulness, Satan responded, "Have you not put a hedge around him and his household and everything he has?" This hedge was not just a physical barrier. It was a spiritual covering that protected Job from any harm Satan might have intended. The hedge represents God's divine favor, his blessings, and his protection over Job's life, family, and possessions. But why did Job have such a hedge of protection around him? It was because of his faithful obedience and unwavering trust in God. Job was a man who not only heard God's words but also applied them to his life. He was not swayed by the world around him. His focus was solely on living a life that honored God. His daily life was filled with prayer, worship, and acts of kindness. Job's secret was his intimate walk with God, a relationship so strong and deep that it created a fortress around him. This divine secret also speaks to the power of humility and dependence on God. Job knew that his strength and success came not from his own abilities or wealth but from his relationship with God. He understood the importance of seeking God's guidance and wisdom in all things. By doing so, he remained under God's protection and was able to withstand the trials that would eventually come his way. Moreover, Job's life was an open declaration of his trust in God's sovereignty. Even when Satan questioned Job's motives, suggesting that Job only feared God because of the blessings he received, God knew the truth. Job's faith was genuine, and his love for God was not based on material wealth or prosperity. Job's heart was aligned with God's, and this alignment created a supernatural barrier that even Satan acknowledged. In this chapter, we learn that Job's protection came from his intimate relationship with God and his commitment to live a life that was pleasing to him. The secret of Job's protection is a powerful reminder to all of us about the importance of cultivating a deep, personal relationship with God. It encourages us to seek God's presence daily, to listen to His voice, and to align our lives with His will. What about us today? Are we living in such a way that God's secret is upon our lives? Are we walking closely with Him, seeking His guidance, and living in obedience to His word? Job's life teaches us that divine protection is not just about being blessed, but about being in a right relationship with God, one that seeks His presence above all else. We move into a dramatic turning point in Job's life, his test of faith. What happens when God allows Satan to challenge Job's righteousness and devotion? Up to this point, Job had lived a blessed life. He was wealthy, respected, and known for his righteousness. God had placed a hedge of protection around him, his family, and all he owned. But then, a moment came when God permitted Satan to test Job. The scene in heaven, as described in Job 1 verses 6 to 12, is both fascinating and intense. One day, the sons of God, or the angels, came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. The Lord said to Satan, "From where have you come?" Satan answered, "From going to and fro on the earth, and from walking up and down on it." The Lord then asked, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is none like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man, who fears God and shuns evil." Satan replied with a challenge, suggesting that Job's faithfulness was merely a result of the blessings and protection God had given him. Does Job fear God for nothing? Satan asked, "Have you not put a hedge around him and his household and everything he has? You have blessed the work of his hands, so that his flocks and herds are spread throughout the land. But now stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face." God accepted the challenge but set a boundary. "Very well, then, everything he has is in your power, but on the man himself do not lay a finger." With that, the stage was set for one of the most severe tests of faith recorded in the Bible. Almost immediately, Job's life took a catastrophic turn. In a series of rapid tragic events, Job lost all his wealth and his children. One messenger after another came to deliver the devastating news. His oxen and donkeys were stolen by raiders, his sheep were burned by fire from heaven, his camels were taken by another raiding party, and, most heartbreakingly, all his children died when a great wind caused the house they were feasting in to collapse. Despite these tremendous losses, Job's response was remarkable. He did not curse God as Satan had predicted. Instead, Job fell to the ground in worship and said, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." Job 1 verse 21. In all this, Job did not sin or charge God with wrongdoing. But the test wasn't over. Satan returned to God and again challenged Job's faithfulness, arguing that if Job's health was taken away, he would surely curse God. God then gave Satan permission to afflict Job with painful sores from the soles of his feet to the crown of his head, but he still did not allow Satan to take Job's life. In utter misery, Job sat among the ashes and scraped his sores with a piece of broken pottery. His own wife, seeing his suffering, urged him to curse God and die. Job 2 verse 9. But Job replied, "You speak as one of the foolish women speaks. Shall we receive good from God, and shall we not receive evil?" Job 2 verse 10. In all this, Job did not sin with his lips. Job's faithfulness under extreme adversity is a testament to his deep, unshakable trust in God. He did not understand why these calamities had befallen him, and he had every reason to be bitter and resentful, yet he remained steadfast in his devotion to God. Job's endurance amidst trials teaches us that faith is not dependent on circumstances, but on a relationship with God that transcends all earthly conditions.